Hey everyone, hi. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 nonfiction reads of 2023. I love wrap-up content. I feel so excited and gratified that I had such a wonderful reading year. And of that, I really had I would say maybe I read a bit less of nonfiction this year, but there were definitely 5 that stood out as the best. Now, if you're new and you really like listening, like hanging out with somebody who loves books and reading, and you know you like the vibe, I would encourage you to subscribe and stick around. And without any other rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Really, it's my top 4 with a special mention. The special mention I'll get out of the way first because I've talked about the book a lot, because I read it at the beginning of the year, and it was so impactful to me because I had just finished near the end of 2022, I had read M. Son of the Century by Antonio Scarlatti, which really, it fictionalizes in such a fascinating and intriguing way how Mussolini came to power during World War II, or the precipice of World War II in Italy. And there were so many similarities between that and the book that I read, which was the January 6th report that put together what happened on January 6th here in the US when an insurrection took place and was not successful, thankfully. But there was just so many haunting similarities between a book I had just read and a book that I was reading at the time, the January 6th report and M. Son of the Century. And it was a really enlightening book for me, and I feel like it was really important. And it really was the most, I think, important book that I read this year as an American, as somebody who's trying to keep up with current events and understanding what's happened in our country and the way that our country is slowly evolving. And it was just a really enlightening read, and I was really gratified I'm gratified now to my former self for having read it. So coming in at number 4 is a book that I just finished, and it is Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. This is amazing. So Trevor Noah is the host of the Daily, I would have said The Tonight Show. I don't keep up with pop culture in any way. I'm really out of the loop when it comes to who's famous and those living in the limelight. What do you know? My camera died. I was interrupted. A little bit of a hot mess over here, but let's continue. So Trevor Noah, Born a Crime. As I was saying, I don't keep up with pop culture, so I didn't really know who he was, and I picked this up because I heard it was so good, and boy was it good. Trevor Noah was, and my husband so sweetly and kindly reminded me of this, but that comedians who Trevor Noah is one of, the comedians start off writing a script. They're writers, and they write their sets and practice them to get good at their comedy. And this book was very serious because it talks about Trevor Noah's childhood living in South Africa during apartheid. And I was not only learning all about apartheid and the effects of that for those living in that caste system specifically, but Trevor Noah himself was actually born a crime. And he'll tell you this in the very first chapter, that during the time of his birth, a black person and a white person were not to have children together. It was punishable for like imprisonment up to 5 years or something like that. And he indeed had a white father and a black mother. And so he was born what they called during apartheid, and in that specifically in South Africa, he grew up colored, somebody who was mixed. And that really shaped his outlook and the way that he moved through the world. I mean, it was so fascinating because it's like I, the reader, got an inside view of what it would have been like to live during apartheid, but it's being told from somebody who has a tremendous sense of humor and really, I feel like, takes his background, which is very harrowing and super intense, and holds it quite lightly, or is able to spin it so that it's being held quite lightly. And so it's like one moment I am like clutching my pearls in total awe that I cannot believe he is going through some of the situations that he is going through. And I'm just like, I don't know how you survived this, Trevor Noah. I don't know how you lived through this. And on the other hand, like just weeping, laughing, because it is so funny. Like he has such great comedic timing. And one thing that I think I have come to appreciate now that I finished it is that he doesn't name drop. you know, you get Hollywood memoirs and there's name dropping left, right, and everywhere. I don't care. As I mentioned, I don't keep up with celebridom at all. I don't. And so there was not a lot. And really he doesn't touch on how he got famous, how he even got to be in the limelight. He doesn't talk about the famous people he's dated or the career that he had. And I think for some people that would have been a critique, because you maybe want to know how he got from this really impoverished background in South Africa to somebody who is hosting a celebrity cable television show. I mean, how does one make that jump? And for me, I didn't really care, because he made me care so much about his time in South Africa and what it was like for him as a young man, and the special, really truly special bond that he had with his mother. And there's some foreshadowing that goes on that I'm like, oh my goodness, Trevor Noah, you are a fantastic writer. You are fantastic. And I was just so excited and pleased. It really pleased me. That is the word that I'm looking for, that it was such a read in which I felt like I grew, like my knowledge of the world was expanded in some way, because I didn't know very much about apartheid. And I just loved that it was just so funny. Like, it was truly funny. Yeah, fantastic. Like, really, really, really good. And I'm like, I love this. I love this so much. I'm so glad I kept this list concise, because there are such bangers on my list. The next is Say Nothing by Patrick Radden Keefe. This is my second Patrick Radden Keefe book. I read Empire of Pain the previous year in 2022, and I found it very difficult to read. Not only was the subject matter hard, but Patrick Radden Keefe wrote it in a way that was very inflammatory. So I was sort of trepidatious in some ways to approach another Patrick Radden Keefe book. And this time it's his first book, I believe, and it's about the troubles in Northern Ireland. And he shockingly surprised, like, it was such a surprise. It was such a fantastic surprise, because the way that he wrote about the political unrest and the way that it affected the daily lives of those growing up and living through the Troubles, it was amazing. Like, it was so interesting. And it really was, I really love a political book. I just think it's super fascinating how politics and religion can get in and amongst us and shape a whole generation, especially if one was to live in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, and how it was so fraught, and it's really inlaid with such deep rooted beliefs. But he not only, so he did such a good job explaining how this militia and how these extremists formed and what they did to cause so much unsettling times in Northern Ireland and what that felt like. I mean, it was such a vivid picture, and it was such a well-drawn picture throughout the whole book. It was just incredible. And what was awesome was that he really followed a handful of the major players in, like, who were in the IRA at the time, and he follows them into present day. And some of the outcomes of some of the leaders and major players in the IRA was so fascinating. And then at the heart of it all, there was a mystery. There was a question that he wanted answered, and he presents it very early on. And in a lot of ways, he does this beautiful unfolding of information that helps get at the question that he answers, which is what happened to this one mother, what happened to her. And as you're going through, or at least as I was going through, there's these, you know, it could have been this person, it could have been this person. And he's, you know, starting to paint this picture with this central question in mind. And it made me care so much, you know, and it made me learn so much. I was so invested in this book that I walked away just feeling almost in awe that he was able to do what he did, like to have taught me so much about the Troubles, to have explained things so well, and to really make me care about what happened in that time period when, I don't want to say, apathetic is way too strong of a term. It's just like I was naive to that period of history. And so I feel like he just filled in so many gaps for me that I feel really grateful to that book. And not only, but it was just fantastically written. And it was such a fantastic account of those times. I mean, truly incredible. And I just really, really, really liked it. Next up, another book that I read rather recently. I read it for Nonfiction November, and boy, this book was just precious. This book was awe-inspiring, and I am talking about The Soul of an Octopus by Cy Montgomery. This book sat on my shelf forever, what feels like the better part of my young life, and I finally got to it, and I'm so glad that I did. And this is the magic of this book. So octopuses have more in common with a pet pup in the way that they get excited and greet their owners, and in the way that they like move through the world. I would say that they are more akin to a sweet dog than I would have ever thought in my entire life. And octopuses are so interesting and curious and just amazing. They are amazing. And you know who is telling us this? I mean, obviously Cy Montgomery, but Cy Montgomery is an excited, thrilling, wondrous author that takes her excitement and enthusiasm, and she like pulls the readers in with her genuine curiosity, her genuine, like, just absolute wonder about these creatures. And so as she is learning more and more and telling her readers more and more about what she's learned about octopuses and her attachment to them, and learning the different octopuses' personalities and all of that, that you cannot help, or at least I could not help, also falling in love with the octopus as well. And it makes me want to, actually, we were supposed to go to the aquarium for one of my son's field trips, and it got canceled because of bad weather. And I was so bummed because I was going to seek out the octopuses, because I have a newfound appreciation for these creatures that are just magical. They are nothing short of magical. And I'm just so, like, this book is just, it's touched me in a way that I didn't expect in any way, shape, or form. And not only is the subject mesmerizing, but it's in the hands of an author that is thrilling and so excited about her subject. And there's just nothing better. My number one book, my number one favorite nonfiction read, and one of my all-time favorite nonfiction books of all time. Just, I mean, my goodness, it was so good. It was so precious. It was so sweet and so honest and sincere. And it is Helen Hanf's 84 Charing Cross Road. Oh my goodness. This book is everything. It's everything. I'm going to invite you all now, but Sarah at Hardcover Hearts, she runs or heads a tradition, and everyone's invited to start off the year reading 84 Charing Cross Road, and I could think of nothing better. I'm definitely going to read this as my first read for 2024, and it'll just set your year right. I believe it. I am enthused by it, and here's what it is about. It is correspondence between Helen Hanf, who is a writer in New York, and a bookstore in England. And Helen Hanf, she's always looking for some sort of off the beaten path kind of book that she's interested in, that she wants to get, and she gets in touch with a bookstore that's willing to keep an eye out of these odd requests that she has. And through this correspondence, a true friendship blooms between several of these bookstore folk, like the owners and those who just run the bookstore, and Helen Hanf. Like, there is this genuine excitement and friendship that unfolds right before your eyes as the reader, and I just loved it. I think I loved it, I just loved it partly because a lot of the people that I have met here on BookTube, I have not met in person. And it really spoke to how, I think it in a lot of ways showed how I feel about some of my BookTube friends. The genuine, honest, endearing excitement that I have for the people that I've met talking books. And it's like I watched it unfold, that same genuine friendship and honest love between two people that was able to unfold over their mutual love for books and reading. And you see that between Helen and Frank, but also between Helen and other people that work at the bookstore. And I mean, that is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of like the preciousness of this book. It is a slim thing and it is so worth your time. I just loved it. I just loved it, and I'm so excited to read it again. I know that its sweet humor is going to be the perfect beginning of my reading life for 2024, and I'm so excited to reread it already. And it just touched me. I could get emotional. It touched me in a way that it was unexpected. Okay, it was unexpected. It just really touched me. And I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Maybe I'm just feeling emotional. But it touched me in a way that I really did not anticipate. And it's precious, just preciousness. So I'm going to stop gushing. I'm going to stop gushing about the book. I'm going to stop. Top 5. Those are my top 5 nonfiction reads for 2023. What was your best nonfiction read this year? I must know. I am going to definitely make a concerted effort to read more nonfiction next year than I did this year. More nonfiction in 2024 than I read in 2023. And I'm looking for some gentle encouragement. So tell me, what was your favorite reads of 2024? Or 2023, rather. Favorite reads. I want to know. Please let me know. And thank you so much for being here, y'all. You have no idea how much I appreciate you, how much I adore you all. I really am just so gratified by your presence. So thank you, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.